Hey, folks, it's time to introduce my good friend, Attorney Glen Wieland. Hey, Glen, welcome to the show.
How are you?
Hello, Glen. How you doing this morning?
Tom, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. This is Attorney Glen
Tom?
Wieland. And, Glen, I thought we'd take an
Yes,
opportunity
sir.
to talk about automobile insurance because a lot of people out there get dazed and confused about it. So I thought you might lend us your expertise because I know you do personal injury with automobile accidents.
Absolutely, Tom. And by the way, congratulations. You've been on you have the longest running radio show, legal radio show in the country.
Thank
And
you.
that is a big tribute. And I got to congratulate you on that.
38 years I've been doing this radio show, Glen. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I know.
Hey, Glenn, so let's start by talking about the different types of coverage. So just give us a little, what it's called and what it's for. And then after we do that, I want to dive in a little bit on a detail on one of those types of coverage. So go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, in Florida, you're only required to carry two types of insurance to get your driver's license and be able to drive an automobile. One is called personal injury protection, or what we commonly call no-fault insurance, and the other is property damage insurance. And it's interesting because when you and I first started practicing law, the only thing you had to carry was the PIP or no-fault insurance, and then the banks got involved because they had a lot of collateral running around out there that they wanted protected, so the legislature made sure that we all took out property damage insurance. Those insurances, the PIP and no-fault, only pays for medical bills and lost wages for the person that has the policy. In other words, you and your car and anybody in your car. It doesn't do anything for the other driver. So if you're involved in an accident, your own insurance, which is why it's called no fault, is going to pay 80% of your medical bills and 60% of your lost wages. You can buy additional coverage to cover medical payments so that you have 100% payment of medical bills. So when you go to the hospital or doctor, those medical bills are completely paid and you don't have any out-of-pocket expenses. You're not losing any money. Property damage only pays to fix the car. And in Florida, you only have to carry $10,000 worth of no-fault or property damage coverage. And, Tom, it's been that way since you and I started practicing law back in the 80s. Unfortunately, medical bills have gone up a lot, so people probably should carry more than just a basic $10,000.
Is the
Then
property
you
damage
have
for the
collision and
driver's
comprehensive.
car? Is it for the driver's car or for the other driver's car?
The no fault is only for the driver's car. The
Got it.
property damage is to fix the other driver's car or the telephone pole you hit or the mailbox you run into. That's what that pays for.
Got it.
And then you have collision coverage, which means your car gets repaired if you collide with something. And that's where you have your deductibles. And you can have the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. The problem is if you have an accident, you've got to come out of pocket whatever your deductible is to get your car fixed. So if you take your car to a body shop and it gets repaired and you have a $1,000 deductible, that body shop's not going to let you have that car until you hand them $1,000 of your money on top of the insurance money. Comprehensive coverage covers anything that isn't a collision that happens to your car. A tree limb falls on your car, it gets hail damage, somebody keys your car. That's all under comprehensive coverage, and it also has a deductible. So those two have deductibles. And then you have bodily injury protection coverage, which is coverage that if you hit someone and cause them to be harmed, then your insurance will pay to fix their body up to the limits of your insurance. But, Tom, the most important insurance anybody in Florida should be able to carry and should have is called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. And that is a major, major thing that people need to have in this state.
So, Glenn, is bodily injury coverage, is that required by a Florida driver?
No, it is not. And for years, the legislature has looked at trying to get rid of no fault and bring in bodily injury coverage because we have a law that says if somebody causes an accident and you're involved in that accident, they have to have insurance to fix your car, but not your body or your child that was in the car or your wife or your mother that was in the car. They don't have to fix any of those bodies, those human bodies, but they have to fix the metal and the car, but they don't have to fix the humans. And that's a real problem in Florida.
Well, I think we can make an assumption that there's a lot of drivers out there that, number one, might be driving around without any insurance at all, but number two, they're driving around with just the minimum requirements to legally have a driver's license here in the state of Florida.
Tom, I think the statistics I saw were 1 out of 3 cars that are driving on the highway have either no insurance or just the basic minimum. So they're not going to fix your body. So as you drive down the road, you go 1, 2, no insurance, 1, 2, no insurance. And the interesting thing is, Tom, after 11 o'clock at night, especially on a Friday or Saturday night, that number goes up to more than 50% because those are the people that are out probably partying and drinking, and they're saving all the money they can for partying, but they're not paying it for their insurance.
Okay, so with that said, that's why it's so important for you to have coverage in Florida. Either you might call that underinsured coverage or uninsured coverage. And so what would be, if you were recommending to people, how much coverage should we have on our policies?
Well, the law requires that if you buy bodily injury insurance, your uninsured motorist coverage has to match that. So what I tell people is they have to look at their own individual situation. If they're out of work for a month or 2 months, how much money do they need to help pay their bills? And remember, the uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage also would help you pay the outstanding medical expenses, because today, if you go to the emergency room, and we've seen, in our cases, Tom, we've seen people that went to the emergency room after an accident, and before they left the emergency room, their bill was in the $20,000 range. So their PIP was gone, and they still had a balance of about $10,000 to $15,000.
So then how much coverage you think people should have? Or
I think
bodily
the
injury?
minimum that someone should carry is $50,000 to $100,000 worth of uninsured motorist coverage. And the interesting thing, Tom, is in Florida, there's 2 kinds of uninsured or underinsured motorists you can buy. One is called non-stacking, and the other is called stacking. And the beautiful thing about stacking is if you own 2 cars and you have a $50,000 policy and you have stacking insurance and you're involved in an accident, you can stack those 2 coverages on each other. And so now instead of $50,000, you have $100,000 worth of uninsured motorist coverage.
Well, Glenn, the bottom line is that if you have accumulated some wealth, you own a home, you might own a beach condo, you got some money in the bank, you've got some retirement savings, you've worked hard for all of your money. I think really the more wealth you've accumulated, the more insurance you should have driving your car out there.
Absolutely, Tom, and you're absolutely right. And if you own your own business, you better make sure that your business has insurance coverage to cover the loss, because they may try to come after you. And business owners need to be careful. I've seen some cases where business owners were getting sued, so they decided they would shut down the corporation, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And they would need to talk to you about why they shouldn't shut down that corporation, because that corporation may protect them individually from a lawsuit if the accident was part of a business-related accident.
Glenn, the other topic I want to cover is, let's say you're a responsible adult and you've got pretty good coverage. I mean, let's assume you've got $200,000 worth of coverage. You're in a terrible automobile accident. It was unfortunately your fault. And of course, the first person that hurt is they've hired a personal injury attorney, and now your insurance company is supplying you with an attorney to defend you. But then you get the word from your attorney that, hey, you've got $200,000 worth of coverage. It appears that the damages that you caused to the bodily of somebody else might exceed $200,000. What do you do then?
The first thing you should do is probably contact a lawyer, because that letter you're getting from the insurance company lawyer that is to represent you is telling you you need to go get private counsel, because you may have losses that go above the policy limits, and the insurance company's only going to pay the policy limits unless they're guilty of what's called bad faith, but that's a rare case. You should go contact an attorney to find out, am I collectible? can this person come after me and my wife and get our assets, our house, our cars, our retirement funds, our 401ks. Typically, most of those are probably not collectible. We've been doing this for years, and it's a rare case we find people are really, truly collectible because of the laws in Florida that protect people. But they should contact someone who has the expertise, like somebody in your office, Tom, where you all can tell them, oh, you have a trust, or you have this is protected, or your homeowners is protected, and those are questions that can maybe make people feel a little more comfortable that, if the verdict came in from the jury at $1 million and you only got $200,000 worth of coverage, can they get any more money from you individually?
All right. Glenn, you've given us some great advice today. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. That's Attorney Glen Wieland. Thanks for coming on the show, Glenn. We'll have you back soon.